Hey guys, it's Lindsay from the blog Repurpose and Upcycle, and I'm going to show you how to use Mod Podge to transfer an image to wood. After you've chosen your images, you're going to want to have them printed in reverse on a laser printer. Make sure not to use an inkjet printer or a toner-based copier, and print them on regular paper. These are the wood boards that I chose to use for the image transfer. The first thing I did was put a layer of primer on them. For the first time I chose to do the image transfer, I decided to get all fancy and do a border around it with just white paint in the middle. The next thing I did was take the Mod Podge. I'm using the Mod Podge paper. That's what this Mod Podge is called. And what I'm doing is taking a foam brush and I'm applying the Mod Podge over the front of the image. Now, one thing I did wrong, and I'll show you later, I didn't put enough Mod Podge. Even though it looked like I used a lot, I really didn't use enough. So once the Mod Podge was dry, I let that dry overnight. You're going to take a towel or a washcloth and apply a little bit of water on it, and then slowly, with not a lot of pressure, slowly try to peel away the white paper. And you can see here how the image just kind of comes through. Now, one trick: when you have the image printed, print it with a mirror image, because remember, you're going to lay this image face down. So whatever it looks like face down, that's what it's going to show up as. The last thing I did was put another layer of Mod Podge on top to seal it, because Mod Podge is ultimately a sealer. So I did this and let this dry. So here's what it looked like after I pulled it off. Honestly, it was a fail. I feel like I did a few things wrong, so I'm going to try this one more time. I pulled the other whiteboard and I printed 2 more pictures, and this time around I decided to use a lot of Mod Podge because I felt like the first time when I was pulling the paper off of the images that I feel like I had some dry spots where there just wasn't enough glue to begin with, so I decided I couldn't go wrong with too much glue. Another thing I did was I started in the middle with the squeegee and I pushed the air bubbles out. You really want to make sure all the air bubbles are gone, because the air bubbles will also dry out the glue to where the picture, the actual ink, won't adhere to the wood. So after that dried overnight, once again, you're going to take your damp washcloth and then lightly put some pressure over the white paper and just watch it peel away. Now, one thing I learned about halfway through this is I think it did better if I applied the water and then I applied it in a circular motion. I feel like that did a pretty good job of pulling away the paper without pulling away the ink. Now, ultimately, this is a vintage looking picture because the ink is never going to come off perfectly. So don't ever expect, if you're going to do a transfer to wood, that it's going to look perfect. It is essentially going to look like a vintage image where some of it is a little lighter than the others, some of it might be missing. There's a few areas where I might have applied pressure a little too hard, and maybe if I tried this a third time, the third time would be a charm. But I think for now, I'm pleased with what the final picture looks like. I'm going to show you in just a minute. And also, sometimes you need to do one pass, then you need to wait a little while, and then go back and do another pass. The last thing I did was apply Mod Podge over the images to seal it, because once again, the Mod Podge is ultimately a sealer. So here it is. This is the final look. This is what it looks like after the Mod Podge is dry. You can see it's still not perfect. I still have spots where it pulled some of the ink. Maybe if I did it a third time, it would look better. Probably so. Every time it gets a little bit better. But let me just show you where I started. This is where I started, and that just doesn't look good. You can see it just pulled huge chunks, and maybe the paper, I just couldn't quite get all that paper off. I think where maybe I had some air bubbles or just not enough Mod Podge on it. See, this is looking even better. So if I try again, I'll let you guys know. But I hope you learned a few tips and tricks from my Mod Podge photo transfer to wood experience.